Okay, new year, new you. How's that going?
I've never said that to another human being in my life, but it sounds good when you say it. When you say it, it sounds classy. When I say it,
Well,
it sounds creepy.
it feels like it's the expectation of us all.
Yeah, exactly right. No, you're exactly right. No,
Why
it's
not?
always exciting. I always like the new year for the fact it's like that clean sheet of paper that you like I can put anything on this thing as long as I keep it as nice as I can for as long as I can.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just like not much of like a by the book rule follower. I never do it. Like
Yeah.
I started my New Year's resolutions last week, like the week
Yeah.
before, before New Year's. Um, yeah, I don't know. Just yeah, New Year's resolutions. And isn't like the 7th is that's today, right? Or
Today's
yesterday.
date.
The 7th is like the day that they title like give up day. Like
Yes.
everybody's already given up their New Year's resolution.
Yeah.
Yeah,
100%. Yeah,
hilarious.
by the way, I do recommend doing exactly what you just said. Start before New Year's because give yourself a running head start. Don't just think on January 1st, hey, I'm gonna start everything brand new and it's gonna be a new me. It's just
Yeah.
things become a lifestyle, or they don't. You just go back to what you used to do.
That's right. I mean, you have to feel things to be able to actually make any kind of changes. You have to really want to do it. And when you feel like you want to do it, just do it right then. That's it.
Exactly right.
Yeah, don't wait for any
Exactly
days or
right.
times. Yeah. Yeah. So coming to you from Los Angeles, I still have my power. Knock on wood. I hope I did not just jinx myself. These winds, it's really kind of crazy because these winds are kicking. And all they said was like high wind advisory. Well, when they gave us a tornado or it was a hurricane
Yeah.
warning, it was like nothing. It was like a little rain and a little wind for an hour. Now they're like some high winds, and I think it's a hurricane for the past 48 hours. It's just like wild. This
Are
is crazy.
you and your daughter able to sleep, or are you constantly up watching the
Sh-
news to see how
She's
close things are getting?
sleeping. She's sleeping fine. I'm obviously not. And just all the noises that are happening outside keep waking me up. But so far we are very fortunate in a very safe little pocket.
Good.
Around me is pretty crazy. So we're just, hunkering down at home and praying that the power continues to stay on and that everybody stays safe and that this goes away.
Exactly, right?
Go away. Yes. Annoying.
Exactly right. A year ago at this time, we had so much rain that it would have been helpful, right?
Right, right. And now we're drought year. So
Yeah.
I was trying to explain that to my daughter the other day. So it's yeah, a little scary. But we have a
Yes.
really fun guest today to change the tone here. Um, so I mean, I've known him since we were really little. And when I mean really little, I mean like our parents were driving us places and we were auditioning and we have watched each other grow up. And many of you will know him from Back to the Future. One of my favorites was Pee-wee's, the Big Adventure movie. Oh, one of my all-time favorites, Police Academy. I mean, you name it. But a lot of you will know him as Wayne from the Wonder Years, our
Yep.
favorite a-hole ever. Not a-hole in real life, a-hole
Dude,
on the
he's the
show. He
nicest guy
plays a great
going.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah, he plays a great one. Mr. Jason Hervey.
Hello, hello, hello. Thank you for thank you for that introduction. As opposed to a-hole, I like to say, America's big brother that you love to hate.
Love.
That you
Okay.
love to hate.
Well, we love you. Yes, yes.
Yes.
We love you. I think everybody did. Yes, you were the big brother everybody wanted. So
Well,
tell us,
thank
like,
you
okay,
guys for having me. Thank you.
yeah, oh, thanks for being here.
Of course.
Just yeah, legend. So, okay, let's just talk about Pee Wee first because I mean, I was a huge fan. I know many people were. I mean, what was that set like? That seemed like that had to be a really fun set to be on. And were you familiar with Pee Wee before that?
So, I wasn't familiar with Pee-wee, but or Paul. I was familiar with Tim Burton. When it was actually the second job that I did for Tim. When Tim was starting out his career, Disney gave him like $500,000 to do what I jokingly call like a student film. And it was the original Frankenweenie. And it's funny because they remade that, several years ago in animation, and everybody thought it was something new. It really wasn't. It was based on this movie that I did, and I did it with Sofia Coppola, and then Daniel Stern, who later became he was the voice of the Wonder Years. But
Awesome.
Yeah, total full circle. So I got to work with Tim, and then it was funny. I didn't even audition for Pee Wee's. I just got a call, and they made an offer for me to go do this movie, and I kind of meet, Paul like beforehand, and then he like turns into Pee Wee, and he like doesn't turn it off, when he's like in between takes and on set. So at first, I was only like 12, 13 years old, so I was a little bit confused. And then I also on the set, she was hanging out that day was E.G. Daily, and E.G. Daily was just phenomenal. She was so sweet to me. And I was doing the scene, and Tim and Paul, and they were really close. They both gave me like just a lot of latitude to kind of improv a bit and have some fun. And we were in and out of there in like a day or 2 days. And I didn't want to leave. Like, I was having so much fun. And, Paul was, may he rest in peace, was just this great big kid. And, we were hanging out, and I got to like ride the bike around the back lot at, Warner Brothers. And he was in a golf cart, and we just had a lot of fun. It was great. And Nicole, since you were such a big fan, here, I'll give you one of the line readings. I said, I am always ready. I have been ready since first call. I'm ready. Roll.
See, this is the shit that dreams are made of, like, especially as a kid, like, what a set to be on.
Right?
And
Yeah, we had
never
a
mind,
ball.
like, Tim Burton. Yeah. I mean, I remember seeing when that came out, and then you were in it, and I knew you, and I was like, "Yes!" Like, everything about everything about it was so, like, exciting for me. And he just yeah, I mean, yeah, that bike. Oh my god. I just love it.
Yeah,
I
we
love it
had
so much.
fun. Yeah,
And
we
Tim
had a
Burton,
ball.
yeah, what a gem. What a gem to work with him. I mean, oh my gosh, that's so
Yeah,
lucky.
he was amazing. A lot of fun. A lot of, like I
And you were
said, gave me a lot of latitude. He would say things like, okay, he's like, let's get this take, like by the script. And then he would be like, okay, the next take, he's like, actors, this one's for you. He's like, bring it over the top, this, have some fun with this one. Like, and then he would be like, kind of shouting things from behind the camera, give me a this, give me a that. Like, it was kind of like interactive is the best way that I can describe it. And I've worked with some directors, where if you say, this instead of that, or them instead of they, just, let's redo it. No, we need the line, like exactly right. And he was just such a breath of fresh air, and was just like completely the opposite. So he gave us a lot of grace and a lot of latitude, and it was a really joyful, fun set. Um, yeah, it was a great experience. That's all I
That's
can
good
say.
to
It's a
hear.
great
That's good to
experience.
hear, because a lot of times when a director has such a vision, and he obviously has a very distinct vision all the time, you wonder, like, if it's by, like you said, by line, word for word, it has
Yeah.
to go exactly the way he sees it, or if he lets you play a little bit, which
Yeah, he let us play, which was
that's
fun.
so flipping cool. So
Yeah,
cool.
it was
Yes.
fun.
And then Wonder Years, talk to us about that. Walk us through that part, because man, was that a like all American beloved show. What a classic.
Yeah, yeah, super, super grateful. It's funny, sometimes like you hear interviews with, different talent or whatever, and when they say, "Oh, like did you know, that it would turn into like, what it turned into, and it would be this big hit, or, it would be so, beloved and a part of pop culture and blah 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 blah." And, unless they answer, and it's one thing to have confidence in your, in your work and in the vision, but it's like, look, we all, wake up early, we go to bed late, we work really hard, but nobody really knows what's going to be a hit till we put it out there, and then the audience decides, right? Like the audience and the fans, they're the ones that are going to tell us, if this thing is a hit, if it's going to work, if it's not. And then of course, like how it's going to be remembered too, the legacy, like of what we do. And none of us really had any clue. When I auditioned for it, first of all, I auditioned 4 times for it. Okay. And the first 2 times, I completely thought I blew it. Okay, because they didn't tell us, first of all, they didn't tell us it was a period piece. That was number one. Number two was I had zero interaction with the narrator, and holding, even your facial expressions in between dialogue while the narrator is talking. So it's like, you have to really be in that moment with whoever is in that scene with you, because you're not talking to each other. It's this uncomfortable, awkward silence because we're making room for the narrator, right? I didn't know any of those things. Okay. So, like I said, the first one, my mom, may she rest in peace, took me to the audition, and in the car ride home, well, how do you think you did? My mom used to always say on a scale of 1 to 10, and I'm like, Ma, I said, I don't know. I said, I think this one's like a 3 or a 4, and I didn't really think about it because, Nicole, it's like, our moms like schlepped us around to all these auditions. Sometimes we'd go on one a day, sometimes we'd go on three, four, five, whatever it is, right? And it's just by the time you finish that audition, you already have all these other auditions lined up. So it's like you're really not even, thinking about it, especially the ones that you don't even really understand what it is. So therefore, I couldn't even really want it because it's not like they gave us a script. I just had like 2, 3 pages of sides. Like that's it. You know the deal.
Yeah.
And then like 2 or 3 weeks goes by, and my mom's like, "Hey, remember that audition, that I took you to? Blah blah blah." She's like, "Well, you got a call back." And I was like, "Okay, all right, that's cool." And I went in again, same kind of thing. And she's like, "How do you think you did?" And I was like, "Oh, I don't know, Mom." Well, that night, I got a third call back. And I'm like, okay, I kind of guess I'm doing something right. And in the third audition, they really let us over like the wall, kind of behind the curtain, as far as it's a period piece. There's a narrator, blah, 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 blah. And I didn't even really know, because I think I had like 1 page dialogue like with the dad, and then like 1 page with Fred Savage, who played my little brother. So this time at the audition, like you could see, like, oh, there's 5 or 6 Waynes in the corner, there's 5 or 6 Kevin Arnolds in the corner, there's 5 or 6 Jack Arnolds in the corner, and you could see that it was getting like narrowed down. So then after the third callback, and they kind of mixed and matched us, right?
I was gonna
With
ask you that. I was like, because
yeah,
sometimes, for people that don't know, sometimes they will have you go in and you're one character, and they'll put you with somebody that they're looking at for the other character,
exactly.
and then they'll mix
Yes.
it up, and then they'll put you with somebody else,
Yes.
and they'll yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
continue. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so
So
funny.
yeah. So that's textbook, exactly like how you just said. So that's what happens. But Fred wasn't there. Okay. I did not meet Fred at the first one, at the second one, at the third one. So that night, um, um, I guess like the network, the casting director, and like business affairs calls, because now we're going to test at network. Okay, now we're going to ABC, and they have to fully negotiate out your deal, like the whole thing. Now I really want it. Okay. Now this is like something that I actually really want. So ABC at the time was in Century City, where they had, Cap Cities. The now CAA is there. It was the old Cap Cities ABC building. So I went there, and that's the first time that I met Fred. And they stagger those things, and then you go from this small kind of cruddy, like casting agency like room in a back of a strip mall or like whatever it is, and like now you're at network headquarters. Okay, now you're like walking down the hallways seeing the posters like of all the big series. You're checking in the big granite marble entryway with all the leather sofas, and it's like, you're getting called up to the big leagues, right? So I'm sitting there, and they stagger, those auditions, so nobody like really sees, anybody else. So I remember before going into the room, there was like a row of chairs, and it was I was in the middle, Fred was to my left, and Dan Loria, who played my father, was to the right. So Dan, who came out of the theater, okay, he was like a theater actor, in New York, and we all introduce ourselves to each other, and Dan says to us, "Have you boys done any theater?" And I was like, well, I did a play one time called Cat on a Hot Tin Roof at the Mark Taper Forum, because my mother said I needed to do a play. And he said, how'd you like it? I said, honestly, Mr. Loria, I said, it was the worst experience of my life. And I felt like my mother wasted my entire summer. And Fred was like, no, Mr. Loria, I've never done theater. And he looks, and he's like, this is going to ruin you. He's like, you're not going to be real actors until you do the theater, until you do off Broadway in New York. He's like, we're all just going to become TV stars. And I was just sitting there going like, I'm 15 and a half years old. And, I'm like, well,
I'd love to be a
that,
TV star.
that doesn't sound so terrible in my book. I don't know. And I don't love the theater. I'm so sorry. So they bring us in solo, like a couple different times. We're in and out of the room, in and out of the room. And Nicole, I don't know if this has happened when like you've tested a network, but it's usually the lights are on you this way, and everything is dark, like back there, and you're on like a stage. It's almost like a very tiny, like either screening room, like, or something, but you can't really see who's out there, like in the room. At least that's how it was at ABC. And then they brought in like the three of us together, and we did our scene, and what sucks is that they've been hearing this all day, okay? And we've been, working on our material, and we've been delivering it. And you want some of that feedback from the producer, the casting director, all the people in the room. And because they've heard it all day, no one's laughing. You could hear a pin drop, and then all you hear is, okay, thank you very much. And you're like, I have no gauge, like if my if my performance landed, because you get no feedback, or at least we didn't, that day. And then that night, I got the phone call saying, that I had got the part. Um, about 2 weeks after we all, we got the part, there was like, I didn't meet Olivia Dabo, who played my sister. I didn't meet Allie Mills, who played my mom. I did not meet Josh Saviano, who played Paul Pfeiffer, his nerdy best friend. So they put us through this like 3 or 4 week, I call it a camp, because I mean, it's kind of like what it was, where they were educating us on from fashion, to the Vietnam War, to all the music. They were really like immersing us in the time period, that we were going to, be portraying ourselves, and in this era of American, history in the, in the 60s, and in the 70s, and what we knew of it. So that was that had never happened to me, before. Usually, like, you get the part and then, like, you go to work. Well, this was a whole different, a whole different thing. And at the time, you also have to remember, and this was back then, we were doing a single camera, like, dramedy, right? Like, it wasn't quite a comedy, it wasn't quite a drama. There were serious situations, but it, had its moments of levity and, heart, and, and all of those things. So we were in this really unique category, because either at that time you were a 1 hour drama, or you were a sitcom with a studio audience. Okay. And prior to doing the Wonder Years, I did Different Strokes. Nicole, if you remember, I did Different Strokes for 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay. And I was at the that's where they were doing Silver Spoons, Who's the Boss, 227, Married with Children, and Scott Grimes, our mutual friend, of course. I would go, he'd come visit me, and then I'd go to your guys' set, where you were, and then we'd all see each other at Ed DeBevick's. We'd see each other at, the Soda Pop Club. We see each other, at all the places, that we did. But it was something that had never been done before at that time. They were like, hey, this is either really going to work, or it's going to completely go down in flames, because, it was the first time that there was a single camera, this dramedy half hour. So it really, and the people that created the show, Neil Marlins and Carol Black, they created the show Growing Pains. Okay. So it's like they came out of that half hour, world, but they were taking that half hour format and taking it out of the studio audience, out of, the 6 cameras on the floor and the whole thing. And they were, at the time, in our first season, we had an 8-day work schedule. Okay. That's how long it took to film one episode, was 8 days. So, it wasn't like, the table read on Monday, and then blocking, and then Friday night you bring in the audience. No, we were filming every single day, like you would film a movie, basically. And we did our 6 episodes, and we were like, like I said, this is either really gonna work, it's not gonna work. ABC liked it enough to put our premiere after the Super Bowl, which, couldn't ask for, a better lead in. And then, we got monster ratings, but we didn't know how much of that was just people not changing the channel, from the Super Bowl, to our show. But then every week after, they kept growing. And then we got nominated for our first Emmy, for which we won, only after 6 episodes, for best comedy. Which was a lot of fun. And then when they pick us up, they would pick us up in orders of like 26 episodes, at a time. But
Did it continue to stay at the 6 days for 1/2 hour?
well, it was 8 days.
Oh, 8 days.
For
Yeah, excuse me.
Yeah, so yeah, we would film Monday through Saturday. We would get Sunday off, and we'd finish like a new episode. We were turning around the episode by like Tuesday. So they then managed to get it from Monday to Saturday, and then eventually we got it to Monday to Friday.
Yeah, as it becomes a well-oiled machine.
Exactly.
That
Yeah,
would not be
exactly.
sustainable today. Nobody would ever give you the budget to shoot a half hour in 8 days. That would
Yeah,
never happen.
it would never happen.
That would never happen. And it's making me laugh because the quality that goes into a project like that, like you said, all the knowledge and education beforehand,
Yeah.
it makes all the difference. Like, for instance, a Baywatch episode, which was an hour, would shoot in 4 days. just to compare like quality quality with fluff.
Hey, I
That's
used
the
to watch
difference.
you on Baywatch. It was entertaining. It was great.
But did you have the volume on?
Uh,
Was the volume up, Jason?
sometimes it was, sometimes it
Sometimes
wasn't. I
depends
don't
if the
know. No
remote was close
comment.
by.
No
Yeah,
comment. No comment.
yeah. One of my favorite projects I ever worked on was a movie called Clan of the Cave Bear, which not that many people ever heard of, but Michael Chapman directed it. It was
I've
with
heard of
Daryl
Clan of the
Hannah.
Cave Bear.
Okay,
Sure.
we went to Canada, and for like 6 months we were like learning another language and learning about nomads and cavemen and Cro-Magnon,
Wow.
all this stuff.
Right.
It was wild, and we would travel to all the different areas.
Right.
It was super cool, and those are some of like my most favorite memories, because you
Right.
really get to know everybody.
Yeah.
Because like Jason was saying earlier, sometimes you get, most of the time you get a job and you show up on set that first day, and it's like you're
Yeah.
shooting. It's like, here,
Exactly.
introduce you meet in the makeup and hair trailer, and then you're shooting,
Right.
and like
Exactly.
that's it. And so when time is put into it, it really makes it special, in my opinion.
Yeah. No, that's well said. You're right. And then, you're supposed to, work with these people, in this, effortless, dynamic, especially if someone's playing your brother, your mother, your father. But I guess, that's where the art comes in, right, Nicole? You're meeting somebody for the first time, but then when those cameras turn on, it's like we've all known each other a lifetime.
Yeah, that chemistry, that familiar chemistry has to be there, which is not always the easiest. You know what I
No.
wish? I wish you guys, if it had been today, you guys would have been sitting on those chairs and you would have taken a selfie auditioning. It would have been the three of you auditioning at network.
You're not wrong. You are
Right?
not
That would be
wrong.
priceless. That would be absolutely amazing. Yeah, and for people that don't know, when you go to network like that, your deal is done. Like, you are signed into a contract.
That's
Even if
right.
you don't get the part, you are signed, your deal is done. So when you go there, it's this added level of like excitement and pressure and all of that, because you know what you're either going to have by the end of the day, or
That's right.
what's going to slip right out of your hands by the end of the day. So yeah,
No,
that's
you're
so
you
exciting.
no, you're totally right. And at that time, um, I don't know how it is now, but at that time, everybody had to sign a 7-year deal, right? And everything is negotiated, everything is negotiated out, fully. And the reason, just to kind of, educate, some of the audience, the reason why they negotiate everything at the beginning, okay, and lock you up for so long is because when it becomes a hit, if it becomes a hit, everyone is going to, want to go back to the table and say, yeah, I don't think so. You're now going to be paying me XYZ per episode instead of what we, negotiated for. And the only way, you can usually get through those things, kind of like they did on Friends, is if everybody bands together and collectively negotiates, at the same time. And if we're all good little soldiers, the network doesn't have to, ever, worry about that because they've locked us up for 7 years. But usually, if it becomes, a hit to the level, which it did, they fully expect at some point there's gonna be a renegotiation. You
Yeah.
know, and there was.
And there was. That's good. Yeah,
And
they
there
wanna
was.
own you. They wanna own you
Completely.
for the next
Yes,
7 years. Well, this
that's
is this,
right.
and, for anybody who doesn't know, Jason became a producer himself. So
Yes, and guess what? And I fully appreciated why they did that. I get it. I do it. I get it. Yes, I get it. That's right.
yes, I love that. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I mean, it's just like they don't make shows like that anymore. There's a lot of great shows on the air. There are, but it's movies. It's movie people making TV shows.
Right,
So,
right.
these half-hour shows are just not there anymore, and I miss them so dearly.
What are you watching right now? What's in your queue? What do you like?
Well, listen, I'm admittedly a TLC buff, so I love all
Okay.
that TLC stuff. It's kind of what puts me to sleep at night. But I, you know, I kind of have through my journey not been watching a lot of heavy stuff. I was really big into Yellowstone, was like a big one for me. Um,
Sure.
and I'm just finding myself like too emotional. I
That
can
makes
just get too
sense.
emotional too quickly. So I've sort of taken a break from anything like a whole lot of stuff that's heavy. The news is like as much as I can take for about an hour in the morning, and then I'm like already like in tears. How do I get the puffy eyes down? It's so it's been I kind of just try to keep everything as light and try to listen to more music than I do TV these days. But when I turn it on,
Gotcha.
it's news and then it's like kind of junk TV reality stuff. What about you? What are you
Gotcha.
watching?
I'll tell you what we fall asleep to. It's either it's either Curb Your Enthusiasm,
Awesome.
okay?
Uh-huh.
Okay. I go to sleep with, Larry David, barking at people. Or we'll watch reruns of the Mindy Project with Mindy Kaling.
Okay. Oh,
Get some good laughs, nothing too serious before we go to sleep.
yes. Yeah. Because I don't know about you, but whenever I fall asleep to it, sort of incorporates into my dream until that sleep timer goes off. I incorporate. It's like
Yes.
I can't tell you how many times I've been hanging out with the Kardashians. It's like what? What? Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. Well, now I know why you were watching Yellowstone. You wanted to have some of the Kevin Costner dreams. I'm on to
Oh
you.
yes, yes, sir. Not ashamed. I am not ashamed to admit that. Yeah, now I'm kind of not watching it. He's not on it, and I'm like, how? Yeah, yeah. I miss him dearly on that show.
We all do. We all do.
Yeah.
Great show.
Well, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, and I will let you get on with your day. We loved having you, and,
Oh, thank
stay
you.
in touch with me, my friend.
Always, you know it.
Okay.
And that's it. Any questions, Dave, from
I
you?
know, same.
Anything you got? I'm here. I felt like I talked the whole time.
You know
Anything you
what?
want to ask or say?
Here's a funny story, Nicole. So,
Uh,
Jason and I had a chance to speak before you jumped into the square, and I literally just started talking to him like we've known each other 30 years because I've followed his career forever, and I didn't realize until maybe the first 15 seconds that wait a second, I've completely shown him zero respect, and I'm talking to him like he's been my buddy forever. And I apologize, and he was so nice about it. He goes, "I don't worry." But when you see someone on television that's become part of your life, I mean, he was part of me growing up that, I'm like, Back to the Future. We say your line like in our house all the time about the
what's a
TVs. Eh,
rerun? What's a
Yeah.
rerun?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean they have two TVs? The whole
You
deal.
must
Eh,
wow, you must be rich.
yeah. We do it. It is so funny that it's become a running line with my friends and with my son that we do that all the time. And
Oh, that's
then at the same
awesome.
time, the Wonder Years was just gigantic. And so my only question for you about the Wonder Years is when that show came out, what was it like for you even to go in public? Because talk about just an overnight, just like this is the show everybody's talking about. Did you, I know you work like crazy, but did it change like, hey, look, I want my own time. I'm still a human being that appreciates my friends and my family, and I can't go anywhere right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, I mean, it was yeah, I mean, and everything I'm saying, Nicole knows because she lived it too. So, it does. It can put you in some strange places. It can also, open unique doors for you. If you don't have I was blessed. I had an amazing supportive family, a very strong protector and role model in my mother, just like Nicole had. So I was definitely protected. I Most of my friends that were my boys growing up, they still remain my boys. They are still my boys. I try to keep my real life, my inner circle and my real life as normal as possible because everything was changing, for me and around me. Um, but yeah, I mean, we had, 20 I think we had 29 Emmy nominations. I think, like 17 wins, Golden
Wow.
Globe, People's Choice. And several years ago, we were put in the Smithsonian Institute, the museum, as one of the five greatest shows in the history of television.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, with a permanent attraction in the museum, and myself and Fred Savage and Josh Saviano, we went there, and we had to authenticate the items, and there was a big press conference. And that's, people, regardless of our, Emmys, like, the Emmys happen every year, but like, so everyone's, are getting, not everyone, but the shows that are not, people are getting
Yeah.
Emmys is my point. It's an ongoing thing, every year there's Emmys, won. But being in the Smithsonian, that's a whole entirely, different thing. And I really didn't think I could be surprised anymore. You know, always grateful, but I didn't think I could be surprised anymore, just because I was so grateful and lucky to be a part of such a big and successful show that meant so much to so many people. But when we got the call about going into the Smithsonian, I couldn't believe, like, I was shocked. Like, that was like another, like, layer and level that I had no idea, we could even reach. So yeah, I mean, it did get crazy around me. But uh, and Nicole will agree to this too. Like, our time coming up, there wasn't, phones with cameras, on them. There wasn't, the TMZs of the world. You could actually have more privacy, than you do now. And I didn't really, realize that, until several years ago, where, I was having a conversation, I think with Danica, about it. And I was like, that was a different world, then, where you could still really have some private things, in your private life. But, now, with the proliferation of, all of these, different blog sites and news outlets, and, all the, everybody, is a journalist, or has an opinion, or, can post something or whatever. It's a totally different time. So right as that was coming in, I was making my transition, to behind the camera, as far as, producing things. So, it that part of my life has, calmed down, considerably. But I guess I have a different respect and appreciation now for what I had back then, looking at what it is now, if that makes sense.
Yes, same, same. Well,
Yeah.
I have a question. This is what I always love when people play like the villain, or a bully, or a bad guy, or anything like that. Do you ever have people? Did you ever have people treat you like you were that character? Like, did anybody ever come up to you like you're a dick? Did you?
Oh my God, Nicole, there's 12 stitches
Oh no.
What?
in, from a bar fight, where somebody came up to me, and literally completely started a fight with me, based upon my character, from the show. He was like, hey, he's like, you're that a-hole, from TV. He's like, man, why you such a, la 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 la. And he's like, I have a, big brother, just like. I said, hey man, I said, let me buy you a beer. I said, I'm an actor. I'm playing a part. And by that time, another one of his buddies, like, came up next to him, and my back is, like, against the bar. There's two of them. One of my friends comes in and says, what is happening here? Like, what are you guys doing? And I'm like, well, apparently. And right as I was, like, going to basically say, well, apparently, this guy over here can't get it out of my head and separate, the performer from the person. Right as I look this way, and I started to explain it to my friend, he takes a beer bottle, just
No way.
yeah, and just bust. I'm lucky I didn't lose my eye.
Yeah.
Just it, I mean, just poured open. And I was there actually with a couple of. It was after a Los Angeles Kings game. I used to be a season ticket holder. Nicole knows I love ice hockey and stuff, and I was there after a game with a couple of my buddies that were. One was two of them were defensemen for the LA Kings, who will remain nameless. But they saw like what happened, and they immediately like ripped the guy off. On the bouncers got involved. And then the next thing I know, I'm at Cedar Sinai, at 3 a.m, them calling in like a plastic surgeon, to deal with this. Yeah, that was the most extreme, on the lighter side, but
I was
still
like,
kind of
fuck, I
like,
was looking for a funny story. I'm so
yeah,
sorry. I'm
no,
so
okay,
sorry. That's
here,
It's great that you had
awful.
hockey friends.
That
Hockey
went,
friends are the best.
Yeah, here,
yeah.
okay, I'll give you a funny one then. So I'm in the airport. I'm in like the Minneapolis airport. And those in the airports, like when you're departing, they have those super long, like not escalators, but like
Yeah.
the people
The
mover,
walking.
like
Yeah.
the walking thing. Okay. So like I'm on one of those and I'm walking. I have my bags. I'm with my business partner at the time. We're, running late for a flight, whatever. So we're zooming this one way, and I see this lady, okay, and she had like 5 kids, like one in a stroller, one holding her hand, one in like the baby Bjorn, thing, and with the bags and all this stuff. And I see her just like do like a double take, at me, right? And we're moving one way, she's moving the other way. I see her, like I kind of look back, like kind of like look back at her, and I see her come around with all 5 kids in tow and like start running like down the the walkway to like catch up with me. So she did like a U-turn, and came running after me. And she basically starts saying to me, she goes, "You are the worst example." She's like, "I have 5 boys." She's like, with, Jeremiah here, being the oldest, and Teddy being, the youngest. And I do not want them watching your show. I do not want them acting like you. She goes, "You call everybody a butthead." She's like, "I think that is so inappropriate." And I was like, "Ma'am," I said, "I'm just an actor." I said, "It's not really me." I said, "If it makes you feel any better, I have an older brother in real life." I said, "And he torments me all the time." I said, "I hope that makes you feel better." I said, "I'm late for a flight." And she's like, "Well, we're not going to be watching you." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." I'm like, "Well, nice to meet you all." You know?
I love it. I
Yeah.
love that. I
Yeah. It
don't
was
love the other story.
funny.
That is just
No.
horrible. I'm so sorry, but
Yeah, I know that
that
one
is
sucked.
crazy. People are nuts. I
Yeah.
like it when they don't know the difference and they're funny like that, but when they don't know the difference and they're violent or crazy, that just lets you
Tells
know
you what,
like how scary this industry can be.
but
Oh
also what a
yeah.
great actor he is. I mean,
Yeah, what
it's
a
the
yes.
biggest compliment of all time.
Oh.
I mean,
If anything,
you're
yeah,
that
it's a
great of an
testament.
actor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For
yeah. As
sure.
I'm bleeding, I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna look for the positive in this.
Yeah.
This means I'm doing
I'm really
I'm
good.
really doing a good job. I'm doing a good job.
Oh shit. The hot blood is dripping down your face.
Yeah, no,
Oh.
exactly, exactly.
Oh, I love that. But so thank you. Yeah, that's funny. See, that's a good story to end this on. I love that.
Yes, 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 absolutely. Yeah, that and so how hot was Winnie Cooper? That was what I also used to get. And I was like, "Dude, guys, she's like my little sister. Stop it."
Yeah.
You
Oh,
know?
that's
Yeah.
funny. That is
Yeah.
funny.
All right. Well, thank you guys. Thanks, Dave. Thank you, my sweet friend Nicole, for having me on. I appreciate you guys very much. Thank you.
We
Thank you,
thank you for
Jason.
taking the time.
Of course.
Talk
Invite
soon.
me back sometime. You
I
never know.
will. I'll take you up on it.
All right. Thank you guys
Bye.
so much.
Thank you, Jason. Appreciate it. There you go, right there. I tell you what a nice guy. I
Yeah.
mean,
Good guy,
honest
right?
to goodness. I mean, when you talk about that he was that good of an actor that people are stopping him in airports. I mean, I'm such a smart ass. If a lady stopped me in the airport and said, "We're no longer going to watch your show," I would have, well, I'll call ABC and tell them to cancel. Like I would have been a complete jerk right back, but he was such a nice guy about it. And what a pleasure. What a pleasure it was having him on. That was really neat, you know.
Yeah. Good guy. Good
Yeah,
guy.
absolutely. Absolutely good guy.
Love it.
That was cool. That was
Okay, well,
cool.
Yes, it was good. That was a good, fun show. And I hope that everybody stays safe. By the time you hear this, I hope that this is all past and over with, and this wind just calms down.
Yeah.
Dave, I hope you have a great week, and we
I
will
hope
see you next week.
absolutely look forward to seeing you next week as well. Take care, Nicole.
Bye-bye.